All right, folks, boy, oh boy, is it getting heated out there. Now, folks are wore out, they're tired, stressed, and I get it. I have a lot of sympathy out there. Here we have a bear market recession. It's politically incorrect to call it a recession. It hurts someone's feelings if we call it a bear market. And the crypto space is one that is fueled by rampant speculation and hopium. Please, trust me, bro, send my coin to the moon. When I started making content over 2.5 years ago, 2021, I hopped in right at basically the beginning of a bull run. 2020, we had started to pump. We were having a good time. In 2021, we went into overdrive as we finished off that bull run. Fantastic year, a lot of fun. Now, folks are mad at me because I tried to provide facts. I tried to break down situations. I said yesterday the FTX has a lot of assets that it looks like they're going to liquidate. Does it mean that we're going to go set a new bottom for Bitcoin? Not necessarily, okay? But I'm looking at a lot of data points that show me that we probably go a little bit lower before we break out and begin the next bull run. That's all this is. Please understand that I'm not here to add FUD. I'm not here to add stress to your life. I'm not trying to beat us up. I'm not trying to sell FUD, as one of the commenters said underneath my video. And I just was thinking, well, was it the right thing to do in October and November of 2021 to be making content predicting that the bear market would begin in December of 2021? Was that selling FUD? Or was that giving, a little bit of speculation, right? I put together and I made a thesis and I shared it with you guys. I shared my opinion and I made a call and it was right. And we began a bear market and we went through a bear market all of 2022, all through this year. We went through a recession last year. We were willing to call it a recession last year. Was it popular? Does that sell clicks? No. But what I want to give to my audience is the facts. And then I want to connect the dots and show you how I am moving through this chaos. Okay? Now, real quick, is the FTX deal going to bottom us out again? Probably not. But it's one of a dozen data points that I am putting into a variable that makes up my equation, which is my thesis on where this market goes next. So I try to provide as much information as I can, but what folks want, right, is the quick clickbait, hype, trust me, bro, to the moon. So what we do is we cut through narratives. We cut through with folks want to say, I'm a clickbaiter. Call it whatever you want. You bet your butt I am trying to get folks to watch my content because we have a message that's been powerful. It's been spot on over the target. And when someone asks me, how's your program working out? I can tell them it's fantastic. And I continue to thank God for the opportunity. I continue to remain humble. While we've had some victories, the battle is still going on. Okay. And so I provide that context for you guys before I go in, and I'm going to show you guys the data points, why this is not good. But the reason why I titled this video Ripple Strategic Weapon XRP is because we're going to get into it and we're going to remind folks what XRP is really about. But before we do that, we have to provide the full picture, the full context, and the data's not good. I wish I could O-face clickbait us with fantastic data that tells me that the bull run's beginning. I can't, okay? But I'm still going to share it with you guys because I want to provide clarity. I want to show you how I'm moving. And then maybe with that information, it can help you understand your investments, your business, and your life a little bit better. With that being said, folks, let's get right on into the update. I appreciate everyone. So I'm looking at my chart right here. I shared this with my Discord group a couple weeks ago. The September sacrifice chart, we are on the monthly, way zoomed out. As I've been reminding everybody, we had a 300% bull trap rally in the middle of 2019 before we bottomed back out again in March 2020. And then we had that halvening there, and that is what took us, lined up with everything. The events of 2020, turn back on the money printer, open up Pandora's box, and a $69,000 Bitcoin comes in later that year. Now, during this time, after we had topped out here, I actually thought that we were going to set a new high in December and that we were going to peak out on December 4th of 2021, and then we were going to begin the bear market. My prediction was only half right. Part of it was wrong. We did not go set a new top for Bitcoin in December, okay? But we did get the Bitcoin bear market beginning on December 4th with a 40% liquidation event, and that started the not the proper party, not the fun party, that started the bear market. Here we are. We zoom in. We're at right here, this moment in time where folks are getting faked out by a 100% bull trap rally. Not as exciting as the 342% bull trap rally we did in 2019. Here we are, 100% bull trap rally. Folks want to send it to the moon. Folks want to have a good time. And I continue to remind folks that they're setting us up for sacrifice, whether it's in September, whether it's in October. We're in the harvest season where they are going to harvest your energy. I can see it out there right now when I read my comments, when I go through Twitter, when I listen, God forbid, I listen to the Twitter talking heads in the Twitter spaces. And right now, I want us to remember that they're trying to harvest our energy. It's not just the negativity that we see in the comments and on Twitter. It's what the elites are trying to do with these market fluctuations, these narratives, this hype. And so, like I said, with FTX, is it the end of the world? No, but it's a powerful narrative that gets pushed out there, right? And it is a significant amount of dumping. Now, I know a lot of folks say it's only, less than 1% of the overall cryptocurrency market cap. But as we've been talking about, the market cap is a myth. We had $3 trillion in the overall cryptocurrency market cap. Was there $3 trillion to actually extract from the market? No, because as soon as you start to get some serious selling pressure, you fall off a cliff. This is an asset class that's traded 100 times leveraged on your favorite exchange, whatever exchange you degenerates are doing 100x levered up trades. We don't do that over here. I don't do that. That's not part of my program. But that's this market in a nutshell. And so we've been warning folks, especially for XRP community members, that these fluctuations will continue to be violent. The market makers will continue to set us up. And what I saw right at the beginning of this month is that we were rolling into a prime September sacrifice, potentially into October. This timeline's not good. We have another year of overall chaos. But from what I see, we will begin the next bull run probably next year into 2025 is when we could probably top out and complete this next cycle. So that's the context that we're working with. That's the chart that I'm looking at. Very simple. I'm not a TA expert, but I've been watching this market when we've been maneuvering just fantastically through this market chaos because we've remained level-headed. And so I'm sorry to rant for the first 5 minutes here, but it's because folks are trying to, say that I'm selling FUD and all this stuff. And I wanted to remind everyone, the real ones understand that's not what we're here to do. What we're here to do is to provide clarity. And when we do get the dips, when we do get the sacrifice, I want my community members to have the chips, the cash on the sidelines ready to deploy. And, without emotion, riding out the storm. That's the position that we put our community into, and I'm just so thankful that we've been able to tap folks in on this. Let's talk about data points. So we got it. Market Watch here. This is the economic calendar for this week. We got the core CPI. We got the CPI year over year did bump back up. So this was something that bumped up last month's report. We went to 3.2% for headline inflation, CPI year over year. Now, the expectations was 3.6%. So the expectations was that we were already going to rise. We beat expectations at 3.7%. Not a good data point. Gives a little bit more ammunition for Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell to raise interest rates another 25 basis points. Not good. Now, core CPI, which is the preferred inflation gauge of the Fed because it removes energy and housing. Go figure, right? It was at 4.7%. So last month, we were telling you guys, they are so far away because this is the number that they're trying to get down to 2%. They were at 4.7%. They did manage to bring it down. Congratulations. 4.3%, though, is still well above that 2% level. Now, what was interesting about this last month is that the U.S. federal budget actually was positive. It's truly unbelievable. It's actually a miracle. The forecast was for us to have another deficit of about $245 billion, and the deficit is actually already, continues to be terrible. Now, we did get the core PPI, and once again, those numbers are up. those numbers are up too. So the inflation for the producers, it is up as well. This is not good. Okay. Not good. And this is what I wanted to show you next, though, here from the Kobesi letter, is that the U.S. government posted an unexpected $89 billion surplus to their budget in August. How did this miracle happen? Due to a $319 billion reversal of the student loan forgiveness plan after the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional. Had student loan forgiveness been approved, the U.S. would have posted a $230 billion deficit for August. So that's why the expectations, the forecast, was well over $200 billion for the deficit in August. Now, because we got to add $319 billion back to the receipts, right, back to the budget income, total receipts, that was an additional $319 billion that we had to add back. That's what gave us that unexpected $89 billion surplus. Now, folks, you already know that Biden's about to be coming on here cheerleading Bidenomics, strongest economy that we've ever had. And then he's going to, tout that we're actually running a budget surplus. And I don't know when the last time that we've ran a surplus has been. I'm sure it's been a while. But you already know that Biden's going to be running with this talking point. The funny part is that this is because his Biden student loan forgiveness got shut down by the Supreme Court. And what this does is it adds the student loan forgiveness is no longer something that gets removed. It gets added back to our balance sheet as an asset, as we're going to receive the receipts on this if we ever make the kids pay, right? Now, this is funny, but still the U.S. deficit year to date is at 1.5 trillion, folks. We are over 1.5 trillion already on this year, up 61% compared to last year. Incredible numbers. And what's hilarious, and as I've been saying, Biden, the talking head, is going to come on here and he's going to tell everyone this is great, this is fantastic, budget surplus, inflation did go back up, but we got it under control. And then he'll speak for 5 minutes and then he'll have to be shown where to go and how to navigate through the main buildings there in DC as he's lost everywhere he goes. But this is all part of the plan, is that the masses get completely left behind while the train has left the station and the largest banks in the world and everyone who's tapped in has been stocking up. All the smart money in the world is getting ready. Not only do they own suppressed assets, but they are putting cash on the sidelines. Go look at Warren Buffett's cash position right now. And it's because they're getting ready to go absolutely, buy the blood in the streets, which is going to be coming while the Bidenomics team is touting the strongest economy in the world and having a good time. U.S. federal tax receipts are now down 8.4% on a 12-month basis when compared to last year. So the government is making less money and they're spending more. This means that the federal tax receipts are now falling faster than the peak of the pandemic. Federal tax receipts are falling at their fastest pace since 2010, i.e., once again, back to the Great Recession. Meanwhile, total year-to-date government receipts are at $3.97 trillion, while they have spent $5.5 trillion. How can this end well? It can't, and it won't. On a month-to-month basis, gasoline prices have been surging all year from Wall Street Silver. They jumped to 10.6% in August from July. I noticed in my area, we're at about $5 a gallon. Some of the more expensive gas stations are well over $5 a gallon. Up 10.6% in August from July, thereby whittling away at the year-over-year plunge as we went. In August, gasoline CPI was still down by 3.3% from August 2022. Given how the gasoline CPI plunged in late 2022, we know that on a year-over-year basis, gasoline CPI will turn sharply positive later this year. The green line in the chart connects August 2023 and August 2022. So once again, inflation, guys, what does this all mean? It means that inflation is bottomed out, right? The Fed didn't win the fight against inflation. They never were going to. They're not even close. And inflation is bottomed out and it is going to return. And if you watch that dollar too, so if we watch that DXY, the dollar, if that continues to fall too, that can give us a temporary bump in crypto prices. Typically, when the DXY is down, crypto is going to go up, gold and silver is going to go back up. That's fantastic. That's what we like to see. But the main question is when are we going to get that next bailout? When are we going to get that Fed pivot? Because inflation is not going away. Grocery prices are up 19.6%. Food prices have been on an almost relentless rise since Biden took office, with food inflation becoming a constant feature of the American economy after nearly a decade of mostly stable prices. Prices for groceries have been up on a monthly basis in all but 3 months of Biden's presidency. The cumulative effect has been devastating for the budgets of many households. Since February of 2021, food at home prices are up 19.6%. Now, I thought there was a guy that was saying that inflation on anything that matters was well up to 20% plus. I feel like I know a guy who has been saying that, right? And it is enjoyable until I go to the grocery store, right? It's cool to be right about these predictions and right about what's actually taking place. It sucks to go to the grocery store and you're just getting smacked every single time. There's a viral TikTok going around about a dad spending $53 at Taco Bell to feed a family of 4. This is just getting started. I covered how I put out a tweet on California. Their union for fast food workers is going to raise the minimum wage to, I think, $20, maybe $25. And I said, okay, well, that's what your average price of a meal is going to go to. It's very simple. I mean, I can't go to a fast food restaurant, even Subway, 15, 17, 18, $20 for one person at Subway for the footlong, chips, and a drink. And don't get me started on the terrible quality of this food, right? But not only is it terrible quality and terrible for you, but the price on it's gone crazy, right? And so, yeah, we're just getting started with this. It's not going away. I wanted to provide that context for folks, and it leads me into Ripple using XRP as a strategic weapon to not only solve the debt and the currency crisis, but also the liquidity crisis. Debt, currency, liquidity crisis solved by Ripple as a lender of last resort using XRP as a strategic weapon. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about right here. I want to give a huge shout out to Lady K for sharing this one. And this conversation's been floating around. A lot of the fudsters, a lot of these, guys that are just spreading nonsense. They're saying all this stuff about how Ripple is pivoted away from banks and that Ripple only makes money by selling XRP. Well, if you actually go check and go read up the court documents, the deposition of David Schwartz tells you what's taking place. For those of you that say Ripple's only business model is to sell XRP, read this from David Schwartz's deposition. So this is, the deposition of David Schwartz. The question to him, then you say, quote, "We are primarily VC finance and we get revenue from selling software to banks. We don't use our XRP as a bank account, but as a strategic weapon. Can you explain what you mean there by as a strategic weapon?" David answers. He says, "I mean we use it to incentivize partners." Can you explain that a little more? David says, "Sure. This model relies on using XRP as an intermediary asset. It relies on things like market makers, and by having XRP, we can do things like lease it to market makers so that they don't have to front their own capital, i.e. removing Nostro Vostro type accounts, right? You don't need to fund your own capital, which is not using XRP as a bank account, but as a tool. So the bank account example is to spend it, to sell it, to spend it. This example is to provide capital to people that might not have capital." David says, "Right. Okay, then you say, though we do sell for some revenue, we just don't need to for salaries or to keep the lights on." David answers, "Yes. So in fact, Ripple does not need to sell XRP to pay the salaries of Ripple, to keep the lights on, to throw a proper party. They don't need to sell XRP to do that, okay? But what they're using XRP for is an incentive, right, to help solve a debt and so let's break this down. As I continue to break down with the banks, the unrealized losses are massive. The situation, not good for the banks. And so they have a bad balance sheet. Some might say they also have bad debt, right? And they do. It's toxic debt, the derivatives that they're exposed to, the commercial real estate that they're exposed to. Bank of America alone has $100 billion of unrealized losses on their bonds. The banks of America combined have over $600 billion of unrealized losses on their bonds, and it's only getting worse. That's a bad balance sheet. So you have that. Then you also have debt, the debt crisis. Then you also have the liquidity crisis, and then the currency crisis. So folks are dumping the US dollar. They don't care to use it for trade or settlement. They're dumping our debt, i.e., dumping our bonds. Okay. And this is leading to a liquidity crisis in America because the Fed, although they injected nearly a third of all dollars that have ever been created, and they've taken M2 money supply to a whole new level, we're starting to see that roll back over. And what folks are doing is they're moving to money market funds. They've been moving to treasuries, right? And they've been moving to precious metals. And they're also moving to other assets, right? Because they understand that cash is being destroyed. And then inflation is draining their savings. So for a while there, we saw savings go back up. Now we're seeing them get drained. But when we look at what Ripple's trying to do, right? Do they care necessarily about the little guy's balance sheet and his problems and his debt and his credit card? Not necessarily. What they're focusing on right now, though, is when you have banks sitting across the table from you, you understand they have some issues. It's not just cross-border payment friction. That's where these banks make their money. But what these banks need, right, is they need to fix their balance sheets. They need to be able to write off some of this debt, restructure some of this debt, and write up some of these assets on their balance sheet. So this is why banks like R3 wanted to take a $5 billion XRP position. And yet we have little talking heads, little fudsters saying that Ripple's shifting away and from banks and that banks will never hold XRP. What are you talking about? Banks like R3 already tried to get $5 billion. They had to settle up with Ripple because there was a problem there with that whole deal, fell apart, and they ended up only getting $1 billion XRP. Why did they take XRP? Because they themselves wanted to use it as a strategic weapon for their balance sheet, right? To provide the best liquidity in the world. Yes, you can access on-demand liquidity without holding XRP. Just like David said, they are leasing XRP to market makers to build out this liquidity. Now, where this gets exciting, I'm going to make a separate video on this. With the automated market makers that Ripple and the developers on the XRP ledger are considering right now, right? This was an amendment that was definitely backed by Ripple. You know, David Schwartz has been a big proponent of the AMM. He says it's what he's most excited for. The reason why they're so excited, because this is the secret sauce that really brings about the best liquidity in the world on the XRP ledger. Not on some side chain, not on the private layer that Ripple built for central banks, but this is using the AMM combined with the DEX that's built into the XRP ledger to build out the best liquidity in the world. That's fantastic. That's fun. And it allows Ripple to skirt around the institutional sales that were ruled as a security by Judge Torres. It's a fantastic little deal. And so they're pushing for the AMM. And what this is going to do, like I said, is it's going to be pairing up two different currencies, two different cryptos, two different assets. And you're going to have a trading pair. And what the market maker does, the automated market maker, is it finds the arbitrage in between. It finds that margin in between that trading pair. And when you put up your assets on one side of that liquidity pool, you provide your assets for that liquidity, right? Then you get to make a return on that. So this is DeFi at a very simple level, but it's DeFi that's truly decentralized, built into the DEX on the XRP ledger, and then you use the automated market maker function to find and trade that arbitrage. It's essentially a automated trading bot kind of built-in function is essentially what it is, to dumb it down to simple terms for folks like myself that aren't tech developer types. And you don't need to be. And here's what's funny, right? Is that some folks are just completely missing the point. They're trying to spread these narratives about XRP not being a reserve currency when it's been very clear. Have we seen Ripple pivot away from saying that XRP is a reserve currency? No. Have we seen them pivot from saying that XRP is a strategic weapon? No. Have we seen on-demand liquidity growth slow down? Slightly. But it is still growing, relatively speaking, comparable to countries like China trying to build out their liquidity settlement on their central bank digital currency pilot, the digital yuan. The digital yuan is behind ODL and RippleNet. And what Ripple's trying to do right now is add in the final piece, the final ingredients to the secret sauce, which is XRP, the XRP ledger, the DEX, and that AMM. That's that secret sauce, the final perfection, the chef's kiss from David Schwartz and team that are making this ledger that is, I want to say bulletproof. Maybe that's a stretch too far, but it's 100%, reliable, strong, resilient, and we have expectations for this ledger that it's just going to work. It's just going to provide incredible liquidity. And that's what the world needs, not just you and me, not just cross-border payments, but the biggest banks in the world that have serious balance sheet problems. And as we see, all of the financial assets get tokenized, right? It's going to be a matter of which ledger works best, right? And what you see what's being built out on the XRP ledger right now with all this additional utility on top of 10 years of track record, 10 years of testing, 10 years of being able to approach these banks, these institutions, and providing them a deal. And not all deals got signed. Some deals fell apart, like the R3 deal, right? But Ripple's able to show up on that side of the table with a serious proposal, with a strategic weapon equivalent, right, to financial weapons that we talk about, like, Saudi Arabia and OPEC, cutting production on oil, using oil as a strategic weapon to raise the price of oil, once again, bringing America in our economy to its knees without having to fire a shot. That's using that commodity as a strategic weapon. So when we talk about the currency and the commodity war and the debt, currency, liquidity crisis, what's the freaking solution? At the end of the day, my hypothesis is that they're going back to gold, i.e., the banks have been buying more gold than they have in 50 years. I.e., there's a discrepancy, talk about arbitrage, there's a little discrepancy between the price of gold and silver here in the West versus the price of gold and silver over in the East, the Shanghai Futures Exchange, where gold in US dollar terms is almost back to all-time high. So they're returning to gold. They are using silver also as a monetary reserve, but also in a massive amount of utility. And then we have some folks that are using XRP as well. We have some folks that are using Bitcoin. We know how that program's working out. But for me, like I just continue to say, I do treat my XRP as a reserve currency on my balance sheet. I am waiting for this asset to increase in value substantially, okay? Based off of all of my research. I'm not afraid to say that, right? I'm very clear about that. I'm not going to shy away from that. And you bet, I have plans to reallocate, readjust my portfolio as we go through this chaos, as we begin the next bull run. And if we do go to $589, if we go to crazy land, fantasy land, if we go to the moon, I mean, we only have more fuel to put on the fire that we're already building right now. And so to bring this whole story home for you guys, it's very simple. We've been talking about get your income up. We got to start that side hustle. We got to start our business. We got to figure out how to scale up our business. We need more money coming in because inflation's not going away and it's only getting worse. After we get the money, we got to protect some of it. We got to have a little bit of savings, right? For me, it's silver. I do consider XRP some of my savings, but XRP is crypto and that is a risk-on asset. That's a different deal, but I do treat my XRP, like I said, as a reserve. So some of it is kind of a little bit my savings. And some of it, I probably will never sell back into fiat funny money, back into US CBDC, back into anything else. If I want to transact it and use it as a currency to buy businesses and real estate, that's what I'm going to do. And I know what price levels I'm going to be willing to do that at. But back to the point, we got to make it. We got to make a lot more. You're not going to save your way through this inflation. You're not going to save your way through this recession. Let's be very clear about that. Saving and doing the Dave Ramsey plan ain't going to take us through to the other side. It might allow you to hang on It might allow you to operate in a state of fear and be constantly stressed, but maybe make it, right? Or we decide to go all in right now and we figure out how to just decide. We make the decision that our business, our family, although we're going to be navigating through the storm caused by a recession, we're not going to participate in the recession. We're not going to have a contraction. We're going to figure out how to start the side hustle, expand the business, and do whatever it takes. Once we make it, we protect a small sliver of it. Right now, we got capital on the sideline ready to deploy into real assets, businesses, real estate, and cryptocurrencies. Got it. Okay. And there's different risk tolerance. There's different risk exposure between those different asset classes, but we've diversified amongst each. Each plays a different role within our portfolio. Each has different tax advantages or disadvantages, and tax considerations have been made for each asset class. And that's how we stay tapped in. And then we sit back, we enjoy the show. I get a little excited because we got to cut through the BS. And I just want to be clear, I'm just as bullish and as excited as ever for where our future is going, but I got to keep it real with you guys. I got to cover the data points that aren't so good before we can get to the secret sauce strategic weapon. If you guys appreciate these updates, though, I got much more coming for you guys. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure we're subscribed. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our updates. And then if you're looking to get in touch with us, it's all over at my website, zachrector.com. And if you can, please smash it for me. And I will see you guys in the next one. God bless you all.